Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Well, for those of you married gamers out there, has your wife ever asked you what you were thinking? Well, when that happens to me, a lot of times my answer is video game related. Whenever I get a chance, when I'm not busy doing honeydews, working on the house, taking care of the kids, doing husband duties and family duties, I think about video games. I try to think about positive things, And one time that she asked me, I was thinking about this. I made a note of it, and I wanted to expand on it. But, since I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to make the video. And now I've had here a few minutes to myself because I'm about to make some soup. And I thought, why not finally talk about this subject? And let me ask you, for you, right? This could be subjective. We're not talking about sales, okay? Not talking about sales. But for you personally, who made the best third-party NES games? For me, the NES was a great console. It's right after the crash. It's a console that I have fond memories of because it's the first console that I purchased with my own hard work and money. I worked at the mall selling cookies, and I made about $3.25 an hour and worked enough to finally buy myself a system and a video game, which was a lot of money back then. Let me tell you, when you're making $3.25 an hour and a game is $40, that's that's 10 hours of your life out there. Right, 11 hours of your life, whatever it may be. And then you have to add the tax, maybe it's half a day, right? And I only worked like 4 hours because I was working part-time after school. But anyway, guys, I have fond memories of the system. And I thought to myself, what are the top developers, some of the first, that came to mind, of course, were some Nintendo titles, But I thought, no, that's Nintendo. Nintendo published it, So, but just thinking about who put out the best third-party games out there. Let's start with Capcom, right? In no particular order. Let me just tell you what came to my mind, right? When you think about Capcom, what do you think? You think Final Fight? Do you think, Mega Man? Bionic Commando? For me, 1943, I believe, both came out. Ghosts and Goblins. What is it? The other one, Gunsmoke, I think it was called. Those are the games that I remember. You might remember some other ones, right? But those are the first ones that came to my mind. You guys can add more in the comments, or if you think of other publishers, third-party games, you guys can write them in there. And then after that, who came to mind? Of course, Konami, right? We always remember the first two Contras, at least. The Castlevanias, 1, 2, 3. Blades of Steel, I remember. We have Top Gun, Double Dribble. Yeah. That's what I remember, along with the very famous, thorn on my side, Gradius. That's when I think of Konami for me, right? And then also, there was Tecmo, right? You had, Ninja Gaidens, 1, 2, 3. I remember, Rygar, Tecmo Bowl, Super Bowl. What else? Did they also do the Double Dragon? I think they did. You guys can correct me on that. I'm just spitballing here. But, as I'm thinking about these things, and I'm thinking about the way the market is going, specifically, with the NES games now that are coming down in price, if you really want to go retro, you can buy some of these titles, you can do repros, you can do all kinds of things. But if you want a decent console, right, that is not going to break the bank, and you want some great titles, just going through, forget about the Nintendo, right? If we took out the Mario games and everything else published by Nintendo, if we just had these three publishers And others may come to your mind. If we just had these three and you had that game system, you would have a pretty good library of games. You would have diverse games where you would have a lot of fun. And now in these hard economic times, or, a bunch of games are $100 or whatever, or, some retro entries are more expensive than others. It's always nice when prices come down. Everybody loves low prices, right? And the NES seems to be coming down in many areas. Of course, you can get custom work done. I love customized NES systems. And there's different systems you can get, the different iterations. But in general, these 8-bit games still hold up. The gameplay still holds up. Not for everybody, but if you're a Gen X gamer, if you're a retro gamer, if you were around that era, if you grew up in the 80s, 90s, you might have an appreciation for these titles. And I'm talking for your own personal collection, because that's where you formed a lot of these connections, right? When I think about these games, I think about my experiences and the fun that I had back then. I do still own NES cartridges. I have the system and what have you. I have never been a collector per se in mass of the NES. I just have the games that I purchased over the years. Some of them are gifts. But you can have a decent collection of great games, of well-crafted games that still hold up today if you're looking at the NES, and strictly buy third-party games. Just third-party games. And how many of these are still relevant, right? Konami's still making games, not as strong. Capcom is certainly, at the top of this game right now. They're making more money now than they ever have. And it all goes back to this era, to the NES. And I think very few of us would think these companies would still be around all these years later. All these years later. I mean, we're talking about 30 years. Holy crap. It's just the amount of time that has gone by. And when you look at the replayability and how good these games still are, it really is a wonder. And it really shows you that video games, even back then, were art. Entertainment art. Yeah, that's what I was thinking when the wife asked me. All right, guys, thank you for stopping by. Let me know what you think. What games do you think of third party when you think of the NES? These, for me, right, are the top 3 that I think of, but there's others. And there's plenty of fun to be had out there if you decide to start collecting for the NES. All right, humans, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for your comments, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.